दो रिटेलर हैं, एक ताजिर यूज़ करता है, एक ताजिर यूज़ नहीं करता, हमारी जर्नीज़ में क्या फ़र्क है?
The question is just the distributors are playing a different game. The distributors are running the brand's systems. They are selling the brand's products that the brand decides. The brand is doing the sales. So the distributors they're doing what they are, right? They're adding the value of being an investor and doing a decent job of getting the market.
That's what I've heard, by the way.
We inside the company try not to think about our competitors at all. Okay, so we try not to think about them, and we're very intentional about this. Our internal rule is we will think about another company if our customer talks about other companies. So if our customer talks about another company, and sometimes they did, then we would think about the company.
One of the things that constantly comes up is that this business or this line of business needs a significant amount of capital.
राजा बाजार में तेल की पेटियां डिस्काउंट पे बिक रही हैं होलसेलर्स को क्रेडिट पे, उसका पास टू प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी क्या है?
नहीं है।
उसके लिए आपको बहुत कैपिटल चाहिए। उस पे जो भी आपने अपने माइंड में आर्ग्यूमेंट दी है टू जस्टिफाई टू योरसेल्फ, हाँ उस पे बहुत कैपिटल की जरूरत है।
Yeah, exactly. It's not possible without.
Yeah, so you need a lot of capital if that's your path, but that was not our path, and we did not pursue that.
Babar, thanks so much for making the time, man. We've been trying to do this for a while, but I'm so glad we finally got the time to sit together in Karachi. So yeah, I have done an episode before on this industry, which is quite big, right? कोई 100 बिलियन का फिगर पहले कोट होता था, अभी भी अगर कंजर्वेटिव एस्टिमेट्स में भी ये पूरी रिटेल इंडस्ट्री है 60 बिलियन. Tajir is still operating in this space, going strong. You still have conviction. So yeah, what's the story of Tajir? How did it start?
Yeah, Tajir started way back in Feb 2018 when we got our first order from a retailer.
Okay.
We started Tajir after going to different markets and talking to customers, retailers, wholesalers, all types of traders, and trying to understand what their pain points are. तो वहाँ पे हमने सीखा कि fundamentally a retailer is doing three things. They're buying things, they're selling things, and they're paying for things, either right away or later. And they have problems around each of these three areas of their business. And the one that we understood best was the part where they're buying things. And we thought that we had the ability to be able to solve that problem. And it started off with a product where we were generating orders for retailers because we thought that the issue they had, or rather the most acute one, was around ordering, where they weren't able to get the opportunity or the access to find an order booker, a human being who comes on a routine, or get the right product that they wanted at the right time. And we felt that online ordering would solve that. But over the intervening time, we learned
8 years now.
well, until the summer of 2019, we learned that that's not enough. And to really close this end-to-end and solve the retailer's problems, you have to provide the service as well. And then in November 2019, we started providing that service too by starting our own fulfillment, including warehousing and delivery.
Okay. So if I were to right now understand the journey of a retailer today. Say for example, I am a retailer who wakes up in the morning today. ताजिर के आने से पहले या ताजिर के अगर दो रिटेलर हैं, एक ताजिर यूज़ करता है, एक ताजिर यूज़ नहीं करता, हमारी जर्नीज़ में क्या फ़र्क है?
सही. मुबारिज़ जर्नी जो है ना शुरू वहाँ से नहीं होती, जब उससे पहले शुरू हो जाती है. और वो रिटेलर की जर्नी शुरू होती है जब वो सोच रहा हो कि मैंने दुकान शुरू करनी है कि नहीं. और उसके बाद वो फैसला करते हैं कि अच्छा चलो अगर शुरू करनी है तो फिर फैसला करेंगे कि मैंने किस तरह की दुकान शुरू करनी है और कहाँ पे शुरू करनी है. और फिर अगला जो मसला होता है, अभी भी ताजिर यहाँ तक नहीं आया,
सही है,
until now, फिर बात होती है कि अच्छा मैंने दुकान की लोकेशन चूज़ कर ली है, मैंने कैटेगरी चूज़ कर ली है, मैंने जनरल स्टोर खोलना है या मैंने किराना लगाना है, तो अब मैं दुकान खोलूँ कैसे? अब दुकान खोलने के लिए ऑर्डर बुकर कैसे आएगा, राइट? ऑर्डर बुकर को आप ढूंढेंगे, आप कैसे ढूंढेंगे? आप आसपास के लोगों से पूछेंगे, बड़ा टाइम लगता है, बड़ी मेहनत लगती है, वो आपको ज़्यादा लिफ्ट नहीं कराते, शायद कोई आप
So just for someone who has no visibility of this industry, I'm just sorry I'm interrupting. Order booker कौन है? Right? So for example, अगर मैं दुकान वाला, किराने वाला मुझे अगर एक चाय बेच रहा है, सही, कोई भी चाय की पत्ती बेच रहा है, तो खुली हुई नहीं, भले ब्रांडेड बत्ती बेच रहा है या टी बैग्स बेच रहा है. सो ऑर्डर बुकर कौन है? एक तो आपका मैन्युफैक्चर है, ऐसे लिप्टन या टपाल एक्सेट्रा, दे आर मेकिंग द चाय और द प्रोडक्ट. उसके बाद क्या वो डायरेक्टली दुकान पे भेज रहे हैं या वो चेन क्या है उसकी पूरी?
होता ये है कि एक अगर हम पहले रिटेलर की आंखों से देखें, फिर मैन्युफैक्चरर की आंखों से मैं आ जाता हूँ.
सही है.
बट अगर रिटेलर की आंखों से देखें तो वो लोग हैं जो डोर टू डोर जाते हैं, हर दुकान पे फिज़िकली पहुंचते हैं और वो आपका ऑर्डर लेते हैं या कागज़ पेंसिल पे या मोबाइल पे या किसी ऐप पे, और वो फिर आगे जाके एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को देते हैं जो कि एक एंटिटी है जहाँ पे स्टॉक पड़ा होता है एक वेयरहाउस में, और वो अपनी डिलीवरी व्हीकल्स के थ्रू डिस्पैच कर देते हैं अगले दिन.
सही है.
तो ये एक मैकेनिज़्म है. या फिर ये दुकानदार अपनी ओपनिंग के लिए ऑर्डर बुकर के बजाय वो एक लोकल होलसेलर के पास जाए, हो सकता है कोई करीब हो सकता है कोई दूर हो सकता है कि कोई डिलीवरी दे, हो सकता है कोई ना दे.
सही है.
ठीक है. या फिर वो किसी बड़ी मंडी में जाए जहाँ पे शायद सिलेक्शन थोड़ी ज़्यादा हो, शायद थोड़ा डिस्टेंस ज़्यादा हो, तो ये उसकी ऑप्शंस हो जाती हैं डिफरेंट प्रोडक्ट सोर्स करने के लिए, चाहे वो कॉफ़ी हो, पानी हो, दाल हो, जो भी कैटेगरी हो, उसमें यही डिफरेंट ऑप्शंस आ जाती हैं उसके लिए. अब उसके रिटेलर के पर्सपेक्टिव से ये एक बड़ा मुश्किल काम है. एक दुकान खोलना बहुत मुश्किल काम है. कहाँ से ऑर्डर बुकर आएंगे, कौन होते हैं, क्या ये इन्फॉर्मेशन किसी के पास है तो नहीं ना. ये तो नहीं कि गूगल पे जाके आप कहें कि मेरी फैसल टाउन के इस कोने पे दुकान है और अच्छा यहाँ पे कौन कौन सप्लाई करता है. इस तरह से नहीं होता. तो ताजिर के साथ जो काम करता है, हमारे साथ बहुत सारे दुकानदार हैं जो ओपनिंग अपनी करते हैं.
ओके.
सो ताजिर पे वो जाके पूरी सिलेक्शन अगले दिन डिलीवरी के साथ, ऑर्डर बाय 5 PM ऑनलाइन, गेट नेक्स्ट डे डिलीवरी, एंड वो अपनी ओपनिंग उसके साथ कर लेते हैं.
But is that a special segment that you have कि जिन्होंने अपनी दुकान शुरू करनी है, is that what one of the USPs or is that accidental USP that you fell into?
That was accidental and we fell into it. And now we're trying to be more intentional about it.
Okay.
But फिर उसी रिटेलर के जो मसले हैं
वो फिर कस्टमर है. हाँ.
आगे फिर चलते हैं. अब उसका रीस्टॉकिंग, अब उसने दुकान खोल ली, अपने ओपनिंग कर ली, अब उसकी रीस्टॉकिंग की बात है. Now the store has to ensure, the owner of the store has to ensure कि जो प्रोडक्ट मैंने बेचना है वो अवेलेबल है, और उसके लिए भी चैनल्स उसके यही हैं. मंडी में जाना, दुकान बंद करके, जब दुकान बंद हो तो सेल लूज हो जाती है. ऑर्डर बुकर का पीछा करना, उनका एक साइकिल होता है. अक्सर वो हफ्ते में एक दफ़ा आते हैं, कभी 2 दफ़ा आते हैं, कभी महीने में 2 दफ़ा आते हैं, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द प्रोडक्ट. विच मीन्स कि फ़र्ज़ करें अगर हफ्ते में अगर एक दफ़ा आपके पास ऑर्डर बुकर आए, ह्यूमन बीइंग टेकिंग एन ऑर्डर, तो आप फिर पूरे हफ्ते का ऑर्डर लगाते हैं. जब तक वो अगली दफ़ा नहीं आएगा तो उतना माल मैंने ख़रीद के रखना है वो प्रोडक्ट. सो रिटेलर की आंखों से मेरा कैपिटल ज़्यादा इन्वेस्ट हो रहा है. वेराज रीस्टॉकिंग के लिए अगर ताजिर इस्तेमाल करें तो इंस्टेड वो अपने डेली ऑर्डर लगा सकते हैं. डेली अपनी सेल के आगे की सेल के हिसाब से वो अपना ऑर्डर लगाएं ताजिर के साथ. सो एक लेवल ऑफ कन्वीनियंस है, एक सर्विस क्वालिटी है ताजिर की, जो कि इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में कोई भी ऑफ़र नहीं कर रहा, और उस प्रोडक्ट रेंज के साथ जो कि एक जगह पे कहीं पे भी नहीं है.
So what's your एक नॉर्मल से जनरल स्टोर या किराने की दुकान पे कितने SKUs होते हैं? By SKUs I mean से कितने यूनिक प्रोडक्ट्स वो ऑफर कर रहे होते हैं एवरेज पे?
सो जो थोड़े ज़्यादा बड़े होते हैं वो आप कह सकते हैं कि अप टू 3000 तक चले जाते हैं.
Okay.
जो सबसे छोटे होंगे वो आप कह लें कि इवन बिल्कुल छोटे की बात करें तो इवन 400-500 पे होते हैं. एंड देन एक मिडिल रेंज अच्छी खासी है, 1000 to 1500 में आ जाती है. बट या इसमें भी अगेन इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द टाइप ऑफ स्टोर, एग्जैक्ट कैटेगरीज.
एंड व्हाट काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स does like Tajir offer? Like, do you have 1000 SKUs? Do you have more? I remember reading somewhere that you started with much less, right?
So we started off, I think on day 1 we had I think less than 100.
Okay.
So we just started with what we could do, and then every day we would add more and more and more. But today we have about 3000 SKUs, unique products. and we want to keep it that way.
Why?
Even almost the entire value of trade in the market is from those SKUs. And इससे आगे फिर वो बहुत long tail आ जाती है. And if, for example, we decided कि नहीं, instead of 3,000, we want to target another 30,000.
Yeah.
तो उसके गिर जो operation build करना है, it doesn't just, the cost to serve is higher and it doesn't justify the business we're trying to build. I don't see a path to viably doing so. But ये एक sweet spot है जहाँ पे we think that we can really make this happen.
So, but what is the business that you're trying to build? Sorry, like we're kind of jumping between multiple things. That's okay. But we will come back to the industry as well. But so to understand, tell me more. Tell me what is the business that you're trying to build with Tajir?
Yeah. Okay. So no brand that starts in Pakistan today should have to set up 350 distributors to reach stores across the country. ठीक है, वो बात खत्म हो गया. We want to be able to say कि इतने बड़े hassle के बजाय with a lower quality of service आप ताजिर के साथ काम करें and you will have superior distribution on day one, right when you launch your brand, and you can really focus on driving the actual brand objectives that you have instead of worrying about leakages, lost sales, the operational headache of handling hundreds of distributors. So we can say that today about where we operate, which is central Punjab, Lahore, and a few surrounding places. But we want to be able, our vision is we want to say that for the whole country. So that's where we want to eventually get to. And we can say that confidently about where we operate today.
So right now, what territory do you cover? Like, is Central Punjab, and how many retail stores do you, like, are your users, etc., within that territory?
Just last month, we served 22,000 stores. So this is transacting stores, not a top of the funnel installs or active number, but this is a transacting customer.
Transacting number. Customer, like how frequently transacting?
Our average customer transacts 6.5 times a month now, and this is a number that has been inching up over time as more and more trust is built.
So these 22,000 customers, or say retailers, on average transact around 6.5 times a month.
Yeah.
Right? No, that's actually quite great. So coming back to the vision. So say for example, अगर मैंने आज से चटनियाँ बेचनी है या sauces बना के बेचनी है.
Yeah.
So मुझे नहीं फिक्र करनी कि मेरा डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर कौन होगा, उसका होलसेलर कौन होगा, क्या वो दुकानों पे जा रहा है या नहीं जा रहा. I go to Tajir and I go like, listen, ये चीज़ें यार ये इस एरिया में आप बेचते हैं. Is that the proposition? Is that the value prop that you want to build?
I think it's far more than that.
Okay.
So this is what I would describe it as. We are not doing distribution the way it's being done right now.
So tell me about the existing distribution scene in Pakistan.
So today, the distributor is going to act primarily as an investor, and then provide a quality of service that doesn't ensure that brands are always in stock at stores. So I'll simplify. The ultimate objective of any brand is to make sure that their brand is available, and the distributors are a means of doing so. The distributors do so by sending people door to door, getting orders, and then dispatching vehicles to get the stock delivered. So this is how distribution is typically done, and it's by and large been the same since 1947. The only real changes that have happened in the sales and distribution setup is really when companies moved from spot selling to pre-selling. So spot selling is defined, the ice cream truck model, ice cream is in the bag, udhar on the spot bechti, right? So companies moved away from spot selling to pre-sell, which means you take the order the day before the delivery.
But why does it do that? Like, what's the business commercial rationale for it?
So if you're spot selling, right, who decide what goes in the truck? You're just guessing what demand is. You can only sell what's in the truck. So what if the demand is actually different from what's in the truck? And then by the time you're at the end of your journey, you have fewer and fewer and fewer things in the truck. So you can only sell what you have. So it doesn't really convert demand into sales very effectively. Pre-sell, done well does that. So, you get the order in advance and you deliver exactly what the customer wants the following day.
Okay.
And this was one major shift in the sales and distribution setup. And then the second one was really when I think modern trade took off. So the big store, the macro, metro models really took off. And since, like I said, 1947, these two have been the only real shifts in this space. And now we're, I think, seeing the third one, where you're thinking, a retailer has a 4G enabled smartphone. Can I use that to now really take things to the next level with my sales and distribution? Can I just get orders 24/7 instead of in 2 6-minute windows in a week? Right? Can I deliver every single day, including Sundays, instead of the day after my order booker visits? Can I sell everything in one place as opposed to placing orders from, can a retailer buy everything from one place instead of placing orders from 10, 12 different entities? So I think this smartphone driven change has really enabled us to now go to the next level, which is Tajir, where, a brand now has, through Tajir, a brand can actually ensure brands are available at stores. They can grow their sales through Tajir in a way that they couldn't through distributors. They have end-level visibility, which they could not have, managing all these different distributors and trying to force them to use a software one by one. Over years and years, they have control over pricing through Tajir, which is something that's very difficult to manage, again, through all these hundreds of distributors across the country.
What do you mean by control over pricing?
So, on Tajir, a brand can set prices in a very transparent way. It's online. Brands that work exclusively with us, at the click of a few buttons, tuck, 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 the price is live, and that's what's in the market. And the brand decides if they want to put a promotion or not. उन्होंने पूरे brand पे discount देना है, नहीं देना, SKU पे करना है, नहीं देना. Do you want to run an offer? Do you not want to run an offer? So the controls are very much in the brand's hands, versus with distributors, typically there's a leakage until you get to the retailer. So one classic example is trade offers. Which is a way of lowering the price that the retailer is paying. A brand will issue the trade offer, but sometimes the distributor keeps some of it for themselves. Sometimes they pass it on. Sometimes it's passed on to the wrong entity. Sometimes it's passed on a little bit more, a little bit less. एक concept है invoice तोड़ने का.
वो क्या concept है?
कि एक customer जिसका कम price पे जो खरीद रहा है, उस पे ज़्यादा बड़ा order करके वो delivery break कर देते हैं. कुछ delivery उसे चली जाती है, कुछ किसी और को चली जाती है, जिसका system में price ज़्यादा हुआ है. So a lot of a lot of hacks around this, and with Tajir, really for the first time, you get that mechanism on day one. I mean, imagine if any company wants to launch a detergent today. If they come to Tajir in our area of operation, we will say on day one, your sales and distribution will be superior to any other brand in the category. Like, when has that ever happened before?
But then, but then why does the existing distributor not do the same thing? Like, how hard is it for them to just do the same thing?
Great question. Great question. So this is nothing to do, this is not the distributor's fault at all.
Sorry.
The best distributor can't even do this, because uska jo incentive structure hai na, wo hai hi aise. The distributor is forced to deliver to a set of outlets that are not viable for the distributor to deliver to. For example, there's a set of deliveries for one vehicle in a day. Deliveries for 400 rupees, delivery for 500 rupees, delivery for 200 rupees, and then a delivery for 20,000 rupees, and then a delivery for 1,000. So of all those deliveries, some are viable, some are not. And the brand really, through controls, pushes the distributor to serve the entire market.
Yeah.
And that includes deliveries that are unviable for the distributor, but on the whole, they'll try to make the distributor profitable and get a return. So it's in the distributor's interest to not be invested in serving the entire market. And then what happens is that because they can't serve retailers directly, like Tajir only serves retailers, inevitably every brand in every category in this country has a humongous chunk of sale going to wholesalers instead of retailers. So 40%, 50%, 60% of volume is not going from the distributor to the retailer, but to the wholesaler.
And then the wholesaler worries about distributing, like getting the product to the retailer.
And the wholesaler is not the optimal way to ensure your brand is always stocked on the shelf. Because wholesaler, by definition, is opportunistic.
Okay.
वो आपका stock रखेंगे अगर उन्हें अच्छा rate मिले, वो नहीं रखेंगे अगर नहीं मिले, एक दिन वो एक पत्ती रखेंगे, दूसरे दिन वो दूसरी पत्ती रखेंगे. It's up to them. सीजन के हिसाब से वो काम अक्सर करते हैं. इस सीजन में ये करेंगे, इस सीजन में वो करेंगे.
It's not reliable, basically.
Not reliable. And brands don't want your stock to be traded. They want to ensure, again, that when a shopper comes in and says, मुझे ये चीज़ चाहिए, तो उन्हें वो चीज़ मिले. वो साबुन मिले जो वो मांग रहे हैं. ये नहीं उससे मिलता जुलता रंग वाला या उससे बैग थोड़ा सा बड़ा हो. वो नहीं, but exactly what they want. And if your distribution, if your go-to-market is wholesale driven, 40%, 50%, 60%, you don't achieve that. You just don't.
So अगर एक 100 रुपए का डिटर्जेंट है जो रिटेलर 100 रुपए का खरीदता है, जैसे मैं कस्टमर जाके 100 रुपए में ले रहा हूँ रिटेलर से, तो वही चीज़ मैन्युफैक्चरर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को कितने का बेचेगा, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर आगे होलसेलर को कितने बेचेगा, होलसेलर रिटेलर को कितने का बेचेगा?
मतलब it depends.
These conversations are brought to you by Kiss Bazaar. Kiss Bazaar is one of the leading BNPL platforms in Pakistan. Kiss Bazaar essentially आपको provide करता है different products on easy installments, whether you are a small business or whether you're an individual. अगर आपको अपने घर के लिए AC चाहिए, अपने घर के लिए फ्रिज चाहिए, अपने business के लिए बाइक्स चाहिए, अपने employees के लिए लैपटॉप्स चाहिए, phones चाहिए, ऑफिस के लिए सोलर चाहिए, घर के लिए सोलर चाहिए, Kiss Bazaar has a solution for you. Go on to kissbazaar.pk and find the right solution for yourself.
What's the typical average margin on things जो हर कोई अपना अपना बीच में कट रख रहा है?
Again, it's very different. मतलब कहीं रिटेलर का मार्जिन कहीं पे 8 से 12% होता है. होलसेलर का टिपिकली बहुत ही कम होता है, हार्डली 1-2% पे खेल रहे होते हैं, लेकिन अगर इफेक्टिवली ट्रेड कर दें तो शायद थोड़ा आउटसाइज मार्जिन मिल जाएगा. डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर का जो टिपिकली वो मार्जिन से ज़्यादा सोचते हैं कि हमारा रिटर्न ऑन इन्वेस्टमेंट क्या है. They're operating on often 3 to 4% net margins. Again, depends on the category, depends on the brand. Cost to serve of a soap is different from the cost to serve of a packet of chips.
Okay.
Right? So उस हिसाब से बहुत फ़र्क है. अगर मैं chips में आ जाऊँ तो वहाँ पे the numbers will be very much on the higher side.
Really?
Yeah, because the cost to serve ज़्यादा है, so the percentages will be higher.
Cost, हाँ.
Yeah.
Okay. And how is cost to serve? What is cost to serve for you? Like, how is that calculated?
The cost of getting the stock to the retailer is our cost to serve.
Okay.
And for us, शुरू से हमारा competitive advantage और source of focus था कि हमने अपने cost to serve को बहुत बहुत कम रखना है. अगर एक distributor के लिए unviable है किसी जगह पे जाना, तो हमारे लिए viable होना चाहिए, और वो हम सिर्फ कर सकते हैं अगर हमारा cost to serve बहुत कम होगा, because हम बहुत efficient operation चला रहे हैं. हमारी modern day routing है, हमारा जो productivity metrics हैं वो बड़े केयरफुली इंस्ट्रूमेंटेड है. एक एक चीज़ ऑपरेशन में बिल्कुल एफिशिएंट है. वी आर ऑपरेटिंग दिस नेक्स्ट लेवल ऑपरेशन, एंड उसका जो नतीजा है वो ये है कि हमारा कॉस्ट टू सर्व बिल्कुल कम हो, इसलिए हम वायबली जा सकें जहाँ पे कोई और नहीं जा सकता.
अच्छा, so but where is the inefficiency in this entire process, right? Because who is like, how do you reduce this cost down? Is it a technology problem? Is it a lack of will, which is kind of what I understood from the why do distributors not do this question? Is it a lack of capital, or say like what is it? Like how can you do it where others haven't been able to, especially the incumbents in the market?
It's just structurally not possible for a distributor to do it because they're working with individual brands. They have limited SKUs, and structurally वो उसमें से कितना निकाल सकते हैं. उनकी जो गाड़ियाँ हैं वो उनकी यूटिलाइजेशन कम है, खाली डिस्पैच हो रही होती हैं, और वो किसी और प्रोडक्ट के साथ फिल नहीं हो सकती. जब एक ब्रांड जो है नीचे जाएगा तो दूसरा उसे ऊपर नहीं कर सकता. सो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर स्ट्रक्चरली डिमांड शिफ्टिंग नहीं कर सकता बिकॉज वो व्हीकल जो है अगर एक चीज़ का डिमांड नीचे हो दूसरे का अगर देयर इज नथिंग एल्स टू कॉम्पनसेट फॉर इट. सो स्ट्रक्चरली वो इस तरह से नहीं कर. मैं इस पे मैं नहीं ऑफ जाऊँ. What was your question again?
No, my point is कि why can't the distributor do the exact same thing?
The distributor.
Yeah.
So look, the distributor can't. So
is it lack of will? Is it a lack of capital? Is it a technology problem to solve? What exactly is it?
look, the distributor is not selling 2,500, 3,000 SKUs. So the question is not that. The question is just the distributors are playing a different game. The distributors are running the brand's systems. They are selling the brand's products that the brand decides. The brand is doing the sales. So the distributors are not, I mean, you can't, they're doing what they are, right? They're adding the value of being an investor and doing a decent job of getting the market.
That's what I've heard,
right?
by the way. Yeah, but this is what I've heard, by the way, and you can obviously confirm, is that essentially one of the big primary functions of distributor is just invest in an FMCG stock. जो उसने स्टॉक क्रिएट बनाया है, उसने प्रोडक्शन जो उसने की हुई है, आप उसको लिटरली लिक्विडिटी प्रोवाइड करते हैं और उस लिक्विडिटी के बदले आपको एक अच्छा उस पे से थोड़ा सा कट बन जाता है.
एंड इन मोस्ट केसेस उस लिक्विडिटी की ब्रांड्स को जरूरत भी नहीं है.
ओके, बट
बस एक कंडीशन चल रहा है ज्यादातर.
ओके फाइन. एंड दिस इज लाइक जस्ट बिकॉज it's just been happening, so why change that?
Status quo. Status quo.
Okay.
That's it. Like, it's not, you can't just, it's just a different value proposition that a brand gets through distributors. मतलब distributor अपनी basket जो है वो एक level से आगे नहीं बढ़ा सकता because they have to just sell those limited SKUs that the brand sells. Whereas Tajir, in the entire basket, चावल भी जाएगा, तेल भी जाएगा, साबुन भी जाएगा, जूस भी जाएगा, टिश्यू का डब्बा भी जाएगा, everything goes. हमारे कस्टमर होंगे जो कि 80 SKUs, 80 products का ऑर्डर लगाएंगे एक बास्केट में. 80 products, जो ओपनिंग वाले कस्टमर होते हैं वो तो 1,000+ पे चले जाते हैं. So it's not even a comparison. It's just a different world. It's a different way of doing things.
But then don't these brands, so say if they're telling, if say अगर एक मैं ब्रांड हूँ और मैं डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को बोल रहा हूँ यार तुमने ये इस SKU से ज़्यादा नहीं रखने अपने पास बिकॉज तुम्हारी अटेंशन डाइवर्ट हो जाएगी या तुम्हारा वो हो जाएगा या जो तुम हमारे एक्सक्लूसिव वो हो गए. आई एम श्योर देयर आर एक्सक्लूसिव डील्स, राइट? देन व्हाई वुड दैट ब्रांड गो टू से अ ताजिर or make their products available at Tajir, because then that distributor will be like, we have this exclusivity, and if you want to buy Falana shampoo, you only get it from distributor A.
So Tajir will, first, Tajir will ensure that the retailers get the stock.
Okay.
सबसे पहली बात तो इस पे आ जाती है. Is the brand in the store on the shelf, or is half of it going through wholesalers? So fundamental value proposition में सबसे पहले बात इधर आ जाती है कि Tajir is getting directly to the retailer, whereas the legacy distribution system is not. तो इससे होता ये है कि the brand has more opportunities to grow, to really drive their product. You don't have to worry about making sure the brand is not available in the right place. Tajir has done this in a way that's removed so much cost from the system through consolidation, through the efficiency of our operations, through the standardization of our vehicles, through the routing mechanisms. We've removed so much cost that we've taken the cost to serve so down that we can serve retailers wherever they are, as opposed to going through more and more and more intermediaries, which does not ensure that brands are available at stores. It should not be accepted that you go into a store और आप कोई product मांगे और आपको वो ना मिले. It should not
because
be a
of
reality.
the marketing पे इतना spend कर रहा है brand and all, and they've convinced the customer to go to the shop and get this product, and if it's a supply chain failure, then they've lost that customer, right? So. But where does the challenge come from? Like, do distributors feel threatened with this, with say an upcoming company like Tajir or a solution like Tajir?
So what we've seen is that when you take away the unviable deliveries, it ends up improving distributor profitability.
Actually, yeah.
So in places where we're working in parallel, that is effectively what's happened. In the short run, it's been a net benefit. Again, like I maintain that today, if any brand wants to launch their product, no one in their right mind should do it the way it's been done for all these past years. They should do it in a much more modern way with better quality of service to make sure that leakages are stopped, their budgets are actually getting real return with attribution, and the brand is getting to the store.
Right, and the customer can actually access that particular product.
And the shopper who walks in or the consumer who walks in, can get it.
So if I were to go back to say 2018, 2019, right, and I think we first spoke around that time as well because you were just starting Tajir at that point, there was like 5-6 companies in this space, and I think combined you probably raised the most amount of capital than any other space, say fintech or anything else. Right now, from what I understand, only Tajir is the only one that is operating, and you guys also quite deliberately kept your area of operations limited, right? You did not expand, etc.
Yeah.
So take me through that thinking कि आपने शुरू की है कंपनी उसी वक्त और भी 5 लोग आ गए compete भी कर रहे हैं. There is no way that did not have an impact on your ability to operate or the kind of deals you could offer, etc. Or even with hiring, etc. So take me through how that has been like so far.
Yeah. So there are a few different things there. So first, I think limiting our area of operation, the geography, that helped us get to deeper product market fit. In other words, we were able to ensure that our cost to serve works for us. It sustains a viable business. And on the other hand, we can increase the size of the basket that customers are ordering, and as the net result being that Tajir has turned profitable and has been cash flow positive 12 months ending end of last month.
Wow.
So we're not saying we're going to do it, we have done it. So that was, I think, the core benefit of really staying focused. Admittedly, we did also make mistakes. There was a time where we did expand in a way that we shouldn't have, that was not capital efficient. But fortunately, we took the correction very, very quickly, very fast. Those incorrect decisions didn't turn into fatal decisions.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of, I think, really being focused. It's given us the time to also understand how we would do this if we were to do it again, in a much more capital efficient and much more effective way. So if you ask us today, we have a very clear roadmap for how to get to every corner of the country. We know
And that's the plan.
We know exactly what we're going to do, what the model is, how we're going to distribute, how we're going to locate, what the criteria is that we care about. So we've had the time to be able to figure that out. And we know how to do so, as I said, in a far more capital efficient way. Apart from that, you mentioned other companies doing similar things. So the impact at the time, so we internally, inside the company, try not to think about our competitors at all. Okay, so we try not to think about them. And we're very intentional about this. Our internal rule is we will think about another company if our customer talks about other companies. So if our customer talks about another company, and sometimes they did, then we would think about the company. If they didn't, then we would not. It was I think especially at the time, again, we're going back in time to the ZERP era, right?
Yeah.
It was, I think, easy to get carried away in press and PR, and we intentionally did not.
Very
do so.
intentional. You were very good at not being anywhere. Yeah, exactly.
We tried. And we're not, we weren't a consumer. It didn't make sense it was no inherent benefit to doing so.
Yeah.
So that was our thing. If the customer talks about another company, then they think about the other company. If they don't, then we won't. In terms of capital, look, capital can, I think, push you to getting locked into the wrong idea or the wrong way of operating. So not necessarily, it doesn't have to. If the founders have a strong vision and a set of priorities, then you don't necessarily have to get locked into the wrong idea or wrong operation. But I think in our space, that was a bit of what happened. Again, like I said, even with us, we pursued a type of growth that was suboptimal. In hindsight, I'm not sure if we would have done that if we had less capital. In fact, I'm not sure. We might even have been a better company if we had less capital.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because did you make decisions because you're like, bank mein paise bhi pade hue hain, why not?
I think subconsciously you do, but we, by and large, steered away from it as much as we can. And that's why we have the fortune of being able to speak right now about a business that exists and is viable and is,
profitable.
Yes.
Okay. But one of the things that constantly comes up is that one of the functions of this business or this line of business needs a significant amount of capital. Disagree.
Yes.
Why is that? What is it? Because from what I understand, जो सबसे बड़ी problem जो solve करनी है, or it's not about taking the order, it's about delivering the order, which is a logistics problem, right? Mm-hmm. And logistics in Pakistan has its very unique set of challenges. Kind of unique set of challenges. So isn't that inherently capital intensive?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. It doesn't have to be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you are a company selling a commodity product to a wholesaler at a discount on credit, और उन दिनों में इस तरह के एग्जांपल्स थे, राजा बाजार में तेल की पेटियां डिस्काउंट पे बिक रही हैं होलसेलर्स को क्रेडिट पे, उसका पाथ टू प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी क्या है?
नहीं है तो
उसके लिए आपको बहुत कैपिटल चाहिए. उस पे जो भी आपने अपने माइंड में आर्ग्यूमेंट दी है टू जस्टिफाई टू योरसेल्फ, उस पे बहुत कैपिटल की जरूरत है.
Exactly. It's not possible without.
Yeah, so you need a lot of capital if that's your path, but that was not our path. And we did not pursue that, and we consciously tried to stay away from it. And our reputation with brand also rests on this, that we do not do this. That's part of our value proposition to brands. So, obviously we have a way of operating, and we know how to do this without this level of burn, and we think that we can do it. We've done it. I think we could have been where we are today in hindsight with a fraction of the capital. A fraction of the capital.
Okay. Nice.
But again, in hindsight, it's so easy to say, right?
Fair enough. You have to take optimal decisions throughout, right?
The battle scars, I think, that you accrue over time are also a big part of learning how to do it better.
Yeah.
So uski bhi ek value hai. It's not just capital, it's also really just time, because there wasn't just something you could copy. There's nothing to emit. You have to think from first principles. You have to develop it on yourself. The specific rack we use in our metro distribution center, we just had to do it ourselves from first principles. Why this specific type of rack, this shape, this slope, this angle, this material, who would make it, how would we make it, how would we make it efficiently, how would we be able to scale this, when we melt it, what's the raw material cost of this, is there going to be any residual value in the end if we don't need it? We just have to go at it from first principles, and this is just one little part of the operation that I'm talking about. Now, take this over the entire operation and apply the same type of thinking. And we've done that over years and years, which is why I can now say, yes, we've accrued some experience. And
it's just a cost of learning, basically.
It's customers. It's not just capital. There is the time. Yeah, there is definitely the time.
Yeah. Okay. In terms of like the shopkeeper as a customer, like you have obviously you're a platform. You have the brands that are the customer and the shopkeeper that's the customer. In terms of shopkeeper as a customer, what do you think most people get wrong about it? Because मैं एक काफ़ी अरसे से retailer as a customer पे बहुत सारी different products आए हैं, right? एक तो वो हैं जो उसको direct goods देना चाहिए, फिर financing वाले आए हैं, फिर उनके ledger वाले लोग आए हैं, बहुत सारी different चीज़ें, fintech वाले भी बहुत सारे उस पे
हमने उनमें से कुछ नहीं किया.
हाँ, I know exactly. So what is it about, like what do you think can also be sold to these guys? Like to put a more direct question, what are they like as customers, the retailer, और उसको और क्या चीज़ें दी जा सकती हैं उसकी ज़िंदगी बेहतर करने के, which is they would find valuable.
देखिए सबसे पहले तो जो एक बात करूँगा जो आपने इससे पहले कहा कि वाइस जो मिसकंसेप्शन टाइप अगर है रिटेलर्स की कि क्रेडिट के बगैर ये प्रोडक्ट नहीं बिकेगा,
कि मैं उसको अगर अभी मैंने पैसे मांग लिए तो वो नहीं खरीदेगा मुझसे.
Exactly.
हाँ.
तो
और कितना क्रेडिट साइकिल होता है वो लोग एटलीस्ट समझते हैं देना होगा.
नहीं वो तो होलसेलर अक्सर क्रेडिट पे कुछ देंगे, कमोडिटीज़ अक्सर क्रेडिट पे जाती हैं, बट मेरा कहने का मकसद सिर्फ ये कि आई एम पुशिंग बैक अगेंस्ट दिस एंड सेइंग जो एक क्रेडिट की परसीव नीड है जो कि कुछ हद तक जेन्युइन है, लेकिन अगर 7 दिन डिलीवरी मिल रही है इंक्लूडिंग संडे तो फिर उसकी क्रेडिट की रिक्वायरमेंट भी कम हो गई, तो उससे डेली डिलीवरी मिल रही है.
बिकॉज उसको इतना सारा कैपिटल
एग्जैक्टली आपने उसका क्रेडिट का मसला नहीं हल किया, लेकिन आपने इनडायरेक्टली इसके ज़रिए हल किया है. सो यहाँ पे मैं थोड़ा सा जो कन्वेंशनल विजडम है उसके खिलाफ बात कर रहा हूँ कि आई थिंक 7-day डिलीवरी इस तरह से अगर आप करें इंक्लूडिंग सम पब्लिक हॉलीडेज़ जो कि एक करके हम डालते जा रहे हैं, क्रेडिट की वैसी ज़रूरत नहीं है. सो ब्रांड्स जो हैं अब इस चीज़ से फंसने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. ठीक है कुछ जेन्युइन जगह है उसमें उसकी मार्केट में, लेकिन उतनी नहीं है जितना एक परसेप्शन है. उसके अलावा आपने बात की कि रिटेलर्स को और उनके क्या मसले हैं. हमारे शुरू में मैंने बात की कि रिटेलर एंड में करता तो काम तो 3 है, ख़रीदना, बेचना और पैसे देना, या ऑन द स्पॉट या बाद में. ठीक है, तो जो मसले भी हैं वो उसी के गिर्द हैं. मसले कोई कम नहीं है, ऐसी बात नहीं है कि हल नहीं हो सकते, बिल्कुल हो सकते हैं, बट हम जिस तरह से सोचते हैं एज ताजिर कि हमारी क्या कोर कॉम्पिटेंसी है और हमने उस पर लेज़र फोकस रहना है. हमने जो इतने साल बाद फाइनली इस साल 2026 में जो एक चीज़ ऐड की है उसकी मैं बात करूँगा और वो है ताजिर एड्स. सो आफ्टर सेइंग कि हम ब्रांड को दुकान तक पहुँचाएंगे, अब हम कह रहे हैं कि हम दुकान को ब्रांड को ना सिर्फ दुकान में बट सही जगह पे पहुंचाएंगे. सो वेरीफाइड प्रोडक्ट प्लेसमेंट एट स्केल फॉर इन स्टोर विजिबिलिटी. सो जो एक ब्रांड शायद आज अल-फतह, रहीम स्टोर, इम्तियाज़ चंद जगहों पे जिस क्वालिटी के साथ इंश्योर कर सकते हैं ब्रांड, हम वो कह रहे हैं कि उसी क्वालिटी के साथ आप किसी भी स्टोर पे अब कर सकते हैं. एंड उस रिटेलर के लिए एक मौका है कि वेट सेकेंड, अब मैं अपनी दुकान को सजाऊं, अब मैं ये जो सारी जगह है, काउंटर के ऊपर, काउंटर के नीचे, काउंटर के पीछे, लेफ्ट राइट हर जगह, ये दिस एड स्पेस, दिस इज़ मीडिया. ठीक है, मुझे क्यों महीने में पता नहीं किसी शायद एक का कोई ऑफर है जिससे मुझे कुछ एंड ऑफ द मंथ अगले महीने शायद कुछ मुझे वाउचर मिल जाए, पता नहीं शायद मिले शायद ना मिले, बिल्कुल ग्रे एरिया है. अक्सर सेल्स के साथ लिंक्ड होता है, विजिबिलिटी पे एक्सक्लूसिवली फंड्स नहीं मिलते, सेल के साथ लिंक कर देते हैं बिकॉज सेल्स टीम्स आ जाती हैं जो लेगेसी सेल्स टीम्स हैं. तो हमने तो सब कुछ को बाईपास किया. हमने कहा वेरी सिंपल, ब्रांड का जो मकसद है वो पूरा करना है और वो ये है कि सिर्फ स्टोर तक नहीं पहुंचाना बट उस जगह तक पहुंचाना है. द प्लेस वेयर द परचेस डिसीजन इज मेड एंड वी कैन नाउ इंश्योर दैट एट स्केल एट एवरी स्टोर वी वर्क विद, नॉट जस्ट Al-Fatah, Imtiaz.
Well, that's easy because they themselves will negotiate, right? They don't need anyone in the middle for that.
And the number is very small. So humans can go and do it, but humans cannot do it at tens of thousands of stores.
These conversations are brought to you by Kis Bazaar. Kis Bazaar is one of the leading BNPL platforms in Pakistan. Kis Bazaar essentially आपको provide करता है different products on easy installments, whether you are a small business or whether you're an individual. अगर आपको अपने घर के लिए AC चाहिए, अपने घर के लिए फ्रिज चाहिए, अपने business के लिए बाइक्स चाहिए, अपने employees के लिए लैपटॉप चाहिए, phones चाहिए, ऑफिस के लिए सोलर चाहिए, घर के लिए सोलर चाहिए, किस बाजार has a solution for you. Go on to kisbazaar.pk and find the right solution for yourself.
So okay, that's quite excellent because I feel like one of the brands that have like speaking of brands and how they should be thinking differently. I feel like one of the brands that has done this well is Pepsi. Maybe like back in the day, मुझे याद है जब
Like which brand?
Pepsi, like when they kept fridges in different stores, right? This big Pepsi store would come in. I then remember Walls did it. जिसने आके मतलब वो Walls के deep freezers रखे हुए हैं, Walls branded deep freezers रखे हुए हैं. Yeah, it's like would you have some insight on that? Like how did that impact sales or how did that campaign turn out?
So for beverages companies, for ice cream companies, the dynamic is slightly different because the product has to be served at a certain temperature. Ice cream, a cold beverage.
Yeah.
So the placement is inside a chiller or a cooler or a freezer. So the dynamic is slightly different. It's not just about visibility, it's also about serving it at the right temperature.
Yeah.
I think that generally they do it better than the rest of the industry, but there are a tremendous amount of leakages the way they do it right now. चिलर इधर का उधर चला गया, जो बजट है वो कितना एक्चुअली आगे तक पहुंचा, it's just not done in a tracked, systematic way, consistently again and again. And again, like, what I want to highlight is that we are allowing brands to do so as easy as buying a Facebook ad or a Google ad. अगर उन्हें बहुत narrow target करना है, आज कहना है, कल करें, सिर्फ 2 दिन का campaign इस customer segment को, you do it. You don't negotiate, rally resources, get 10 people in a meeting, do 30 different meetings, and then say, अच्छा हम 6 महीने बाद करेंगे.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference between that. It's just not, there's the time element as well. You can just do it far more effectively and get the returns.
In your experience, have you found that brands are actually receptive to that? Are they responding to it? Are they seeing it? Or is it just like, यार जो एक चीज़ चल रही है, why do that? Why touch that?
तो Mubariz Tajir ads में तो it's a very new product. 2026 is the year that we've launched it, and early discussions are very positive. It's in the market, it's live, and overall we've seen good response. Yes, there is status quo resistance, typically from middle management.
Yeah.
Typically from middle management. It's still early days, but I think the ownership, management level, people who are looking more holistically tend to get it very instantly, and there's not much selling going on. वो एक बस एक moment होता है and they get it. And let's see how it goes. I'm very confident about the product. And I'm also excited to see what brands bring to the table for us, because one of the interesting parts of this is, brands will come and say, actually we're doing this, but can we also do this? But can we also do this? And that helps you understand the product, the problem a little bit better, so you can build the product that really works, and you have to see if it makes sense for your vision as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about
No,
this.
that makes a lot of sense. Uske alawa, the thing that I'm just like, what I want to segue into is AI, right? How does AI impact this particular space? And what do you think? I mean, when people think of AI right now, is obviously this grand level where we'll have AGI and it'll kill us all and rule over the world. And then also this like something that is so far removed, especially Pakistan में बैठ के ऐसा लगता है AI इतना थोड़ा दूर है तो बाहर के मुल्कों में इफेक्ट करेगा. यहाँ तो हम मतलब जो बैठे हुए हैं, especially the business like yours where the physical product needs to be delivered from one place to another. So how are you using AI in your company?
Yeah.
How are you seeing it impact these decisions?
I mean, Mubariz, to start, I think the developments in AI, especially since November, December of last year, have just been thrilling. I mean, sure, scary as well, but it's just been thrilling. Like with every incremental model release, the kinds of things that we're able to do is just extraordinary. Our ability to learn, create, build, it's just, like gone exponential. So it's just been absolutely thrilling. Internally, we're just trying to keep up. Like,
that's true.
We're just trying to keep up. Like, let's just keep trying to stay on the edge of what's happening, keep using the best tools there are, and yeah, just be early adopters. And our pace of product development has rapidly increased. The way we engineer is changing as we speak. There's no playbook that we can refer to and say, okay, this is how it should be done. We are just doing this on the fly with the mindset that we're just going to try to be early adopters and stay on the bleeding edge of things and keep learning and using the tools at our disposal. As a business, I think we remain incredibly defensible. In fact, probably even stronger after these changes. We have physical infrastructure. We move things.
The robots come along and they're cheap enough to produce. Yeah.
Even then,
you can just have.
We'd probably be well positioned for that. But I mean, at the core, I think it's just thrilling, and we want to stay on the, like I said, on the bleeding edge of frontier.
Nice. Babar, one more thing is that besides, say, the business side or the industry side of things, Tajir was the first Pakistani company to get into YC. I mean, there were a few others, but they were building for rest of the world, right? But from what I recall, Tajir was the first one that is building exclusively for Pakistan that got into Y Combinator. So, वो कैसा experience था?
Y Combinator was just incredible. We learned so much, and I can assure that our trajectory would have been very different without Y Combinator. Okay. There's no question about that.
Even though when I hear about Y Combinator, whenever I speak to somebody about Y Combinator, the feedback is, if you're building in the US or building a global, say, SaaS product, etc., it's great. And I would generally on the initial reaction would be unko kya pata Pakistan ke bare mein, and how do they know about this?
Yeah, I think you just have to humble yourself and say हर interaction से पहले हम सोचते थे नहीं हमें तो ये पता है, we know what we're doing, and then you'd come out of it and you'd be like, wow, I learned something. So eventually you just humble yourself and say, you know what, just accept that there's a lot you don't know, and there's a lot you can learn that is relevant for Pakistan or anywhere else. So I don't subscribe to that at all. I don't know, maybe there are founders who can argue differently, but for us it was pivotal for us, absolutely pivotal. And YC itself was, so our batch was the batch when COVID hit.
Okay, so I remember.
we were funded in December 2019.
Yeah.
And COVID really took off in March 2020, which was the month that we had Demo Day, which is the day at the end of our YC batch where you present to investors and, in theory, you raise money or at that time. So, we just we were taking off from Pakistan, and there were a handful of COVID cases. And when we landed, roughly 24 hours later, and we checked our phones, and that number had gone up to, I don't know, hundreds or even more. And we heard the news that Demo Day had been, I think, initially postponed, or maybe it was cancelled, then postponed. I don't know. There's, it's not happening. Okay, it's not happening anymore. Right, well, we're here. So what do we do? And then there was another time where we were told that through IC that if it seems like things are getting really bad, and if you need to leave, this would be the time. And some did. And we didn't. We just said, well, all right, let's roll the dice and see what happens. So we stuck around, and we were stuck there for months. I remember we, had that mattress we were on for I don't know how long, and taking all the calls from Zoom. And if you recall, in those days, it wasn't very reliable.
Yeah.
So you're going in and out, and you're raising capital at that time. So we scraped together our first round that way. So that was in our DNA from very early on. Like, you have to really, really struggle to put that capital together, and
this is not the round with Kleiner Perkins in it, or this is the one after or before?
This was I just described our first round.
Yeah.
Kleiner led the next round.
Okay,
yeah,
fine.
which
and
was about a year later.
You haven't raised
Yes,
since then?
exactly.
Okay, fine. Yeah.
YC, another funny thing is, like, demo day was online, and it was the day that shelter in place was announced in California.
Okay.
So we're like, okay, who's going to go get food, and who's going to stay on the computer? And we're like figuring that out with each other, So it's that kind of environment, that kind of day that we had. But yeah, I mean, those are just some, I think, fun stories from YC. But it just, I think, shapes the nature of the company and how we operate as well.
Okay, and in terms of leaving aside the actual business side of things, in terms of company building, what are some of the most important things you've learned at YC? Hiring, company building, say culture wise, कि किस तरह से?
At YC, we're not talking about culture and company. At YC, we're talking about product market fit. We're talking about building the product, and we're talking about selling the product.
Does someone want this, and will they pay money for it?
That's it.
But then that's the first thing, right? But then when you start breaking down, and why does someone not want this, or how do I know if someone wants it? Yeah.
So then later on, we did a lot of other stuff with YC. We talked to we continued to connect with the partners. YC also invested in the next round of financing through a separate
fund. Yeah.
Exactly. There was I think they called it there was a Series A program, I think. I'm not sure what they branded it as, but we were part of that as well.
Okay.
Where we learned from some of the top YC founders on exactly some of the things that you're talking about, which are now more relevant at that new level of scale, but perhaps weren't when we were in the batch and just starting off. So, YC for us was that too. It wasn't just the first check. It wasn't just the first few months. It was also the lessons after that. And sometimes it's interesting because sometimes it's just like a little nudge you need. Sometimes you need to be really shaken and put in the right place and be given the unvarnished truth. Sometimes it's a master class from a world-class founder, a founder who's world-class at hiring, for example. So it's really different things at different times, and we were very, very fortunate to have that. And in general, as an investor base, we are really fortunate. So operating a venture-funded company in Pakistan, we've had a set of investors who've been with us throughout the way. We have had like dream relationships. Couldn't ask for better.
But then, do you also feel this pressure of how am I going to give venture returns? Because one of the things that I've at least seen throughout, and I think I keep harping on about, is being Pakistani market being big enough to give venture returns, right? Like that exponential, 50x type of situation. What are your views on it?
I think in our space we can.
Okay.
In our space, we definitely can. Yes.
Why? Because the market is actually that big?
It's the size of the market.
Yeah.
We're intentional about what we do. We keep doing it, and we know the size of the market if we're able to grow. Doing the thing we're doing right now. Our plan doesn't entail, if you do this successfully, then that gives you a chance to do something else. Then that gives you an opportunity to do something else. And then maybe when I'm doing half of all retail trade, I might be profitable. That's not our approach at all. We've been confident on this from the beginning. I understand the concern about some other markets, but ours doesn't have that.
So where would you say the exit would come from? Say for a company like Tajir, and say where does that shareholder investor liquidity come from?
I don't know. I think honestly, if we build the right business, we focus on building an incredible investable business. Sometimes the answers come up
Later
through
on.
that process. The prerequisite is that you have the right business. And I don't want to get too caught up. Obviously, we have our own views and some conjecture, some...
It's mostly conjecture, right? It's not in your control. Like your exit is not really in your control.
Yeah, but I think it's really far more beneficial to focus on the prerequisite, which is you build a business that is venture scale and investable, and that's where our focus is.
Okay, fair enough. And in terms of, say, you saw this entire wave of Pakistani startups, right? Like 2020 से लेके 2022, or maybe end of 2019 से लेके 2022. Haven't seen any time like this, and I think that was the anomaly. This is the normal, or closer to the normal. What, if you were to explain to someone who's a founder who wants to start something, how should they, say, measure their product market fit? Like, because that's something that you are, whenever I've spoken to you, it has come up. It is something, but it's also something that most people get so wrong as well, right? And I think it's काफी meaningfully आपके business decisions change हो सकते हैं if you just focusing on the right things early on.
I don't know. I think the seminal piece on this is by, I think it's by Mark Andreessen, the one I like the most. Often product market fit is a feeling.
Okay.
You know, it's like your customers grabbing your product out of your hand. They're like, I want this. You know, Mubariz is selling this glass, and this is the most beautifully crafted glass on the planet. And there are people knocking on your door, waking you up at night to just take it out of your hand and buy this glass from you. You know, you have product market fit. Selling this glass, and that can manifest in the numbers through growth, through retention. And again, depending on the nature of the market and the product, the exact metric can be different. But that's really what it comes down to in the beginning. Like the most common piece of feedback I give to early stage founders, and I only really talk to mostly early stage, is just think about product market fit and stop thinking about hiring and finance and support. I don't know, like just things that are not to do with getting to product market fit. Like that's the only thing that matters in the earliest stage of starting a company.
But then when you're, say, defining, say, early stage product market fit, are you also focusing on, say, an early stage persona of a customer? कि शुरू में ये मेरा customer है and I will just ruthlessly ignore everyone else and just focus on this particular niche and then slowly expand.
Yeah,
is this exactly?
I think it could be. Yeah, you have a customer archetype.
Yeah.
So, for example, for us, we were very intentional that our customer is not a very, very large retailer like an Al Fatah, for example.
Yeah.
We were very intentional about it. We were very intentional that we are not serving products that don't fit into our supply chain. Right, so that cut off another customer archetype. So yeah, I think at you do have to draw the lines and really focus on a customer archetype and really drill it down. I think another way to put it is, again, this is a lot of the learnings over the years. A lot from YC, a lot from other places as well.
Of course, yeah.
I think you really want to get even if it's a less number of customers, even if it's fewer customers, you want them to really love your product, like grab it out of your hand. Rather have 10 customers who love you than 100 customers who are lukewarm towards you.
Yeah, and then वो जो 1,000 true fans wali theory, you need to have those, especially for media content, etc. You need to have those first 1,000 fans, true fans, who will just buy your product, whatever it is, and then uske baad then things start building from there.
Yeah.
From that perspective, who were actually, say, what was one of the hardest things for you guys to ignore early on in your journey?
The hardest things you
had to ignore, like had to let go. Like एक अक्सर होता है ना कि यार यहाँ से पैसे आ रहे हैं, how can I just ignore this, or how can I just?
In the beginning, it was selling to wholesalers.
Okay.
That was the hardest thing to ignore. Everyone was selling to wholesalers.
Because that was so easy. They would just pick up
easy.
a chunk of your product right there.
And then you say my GMV is increasing, and then you raise the next round of capital. But there's no path to profitability for that GMV. That was the hardest thing. We had to stay really principled and say we're not going to do that.
Okay. Because it just ties in. Obviously, it ties in like to the objective of building a company, which is to make a profit.
It's not adding any value for the brand, and it's not adding any value for a retailer who is our actual customer. And a lot of this excess capital in the space flowed to wholesalers, and that's why excess capital in the hands of other companies didn't harm us, because the customer changed. If the capital was used to gain market share with retailers, we would have been more concerned. But it didn't. Instead, it flowed to wholesalers. वही Raja Bazaar वाला example. Discount पे तेल, credit पे जा रहा है.
So basically, the VC is paying for it.
The VC is paying for it. So I think in the early days, it was sticking to wholesale, and it was also sticking to the app. Tajir has never taken an order off our native mobile app from day one. Like, not a single order ever. No one can place an order on the phone through a human being or through any other mechanism, none. So that forced us to build the best product in the market. So we don't, it's part of our culture, our DNA, to really focus on the product, because we don't have a choice. So we thought about problems like battery optimization. Can you place an order on 2G? What is the Urdu font that we're using? How can we adjust it to minimize the size of the app?
Yeah.
So we're thinking about these things because there's no alternative, and this is fundamental to the viability of the business, to the value proposition we have for brands and retailers. Therefore, we put this very hard restriction instead of the easier option, which is sell to wholesalers, get offline orders through a human or a phone or whatever, and boost your GMVs and keep raising capital again and again and again, with no path to profit, with a much, much more complicated and potentially no path to profitability.
The narrative there, as an outsider, would probably, to my mind, would be, once I have enough data about, but you don't even have data about the retailer then, right?
Sure. I wish I was, born beautiful. I don't know. I think it's a little bit like strategy astronaut thinking. If this happens, then this will happen, then this will happen, and then maybe one day I'll have a profitable business. Until then, please subsidize me endlessly. I don't know. It's not how we operate, and I don't think it makes sense. I never bought that argument.
Yeah.
Never bought it.
It was about always just delivering this core value proposition. That's where someone orders on the app, they get the thing the next day.
We help retailers buy inventory, and we help brands get their product in the store, and now on the shelf too.
Yeah, on the right shelf.
The right place.
Right place. Okay, man. That's quite excellent. Asha, so coming back, if you were to say start a startup in Pakistan today, or say invest a substantial amount of startup capital in any kind of startup in Pakistan today, what would you invest in? What would you either invest in or do yourself if you weren't doing Tajir?
Look, I'm as far from an investor as you can imagine, so who am I to say? But from a problem that I have that I would like solved, I wish someone would build a bank for us, for a business.
Okay.
Like, please build a bank that we can use with, automation, proper analytics, something.
Basic user experience here. Just like online payment, online transfer करा दो अभी तो analytics तो बहुत बात की बात है.
Access control. Easy to manage access control.
अभी तो 4 लोगों का आपको maker, checker, releaser वगैरह the whole.
Maybe something similar to, like a Mercury, a Brex, a Ramp. I don't know exactly, but something around the banking experience that businesses face is just fundamentally flawed. And I wish someone solves this problem. And I think this is also a venture scale opportunity. As opposed to small business.
Okay, that's one. What other space, like, so within your own space, say the whole supply chain from the manufacturer to the retailer, और क्या opportunities हैं यहाँ पे? Say if I want to build something in this massive like market.
Then I'm giving up a bunch of our roadmap.
Chalo, whatever say, like you're ruthlessly excluding from your roadmap, or like it's harder for you to exclude, but you're like,
If I'm excluding, I think it's not worth it.
Is it? Because sometimes it could like just not tie in with your current vision, but still could be quite lucrative.
True. If it doesn't, if we don't have an inherent advantage, I don't know. I haven't thought about it as deeply from that perspective. But again, I'll reiterate that I think problems around financing, buying, selling are core to this. And I think if you can really pinpoint, it's not very difficult to understand these problems in the sense that if you have the skill to go to the customer and talk to them and really interpret what they're saying in an effective way, I think you can very easily figure it out better than anything I can say here. Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know.
If I think it's worth it, it's on our roadmap.
Fair enough. But okay, the last question around the space. You have been like, I've never really seen you at an event or like a startup conference in Pakistan at least, or at any of these meetups, etc. So you're kind of like sitting on the outside looking in to the whole thing.
You got me here. Huh? You got me here.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe you should
took
answer
like
the
years.
question. How did you get me here? Maybe I should ask you that.
It took some time. It took like I had to get a whole podcast going, and I had to get like 34 episodes done before that. So what have been your general impressions? Like, how do you think? Like, where do you see the space going? Like, we finally got the Pakistani, say, some sort of institutional capital into Pakistan. I don't think you've raised from any of the Pakistan-focused funds, right?
You raised from Fatima Gobi, and they're an excellent
Gobi is
investor.
actually, Fatima Gobi is an investor in Tajir. Actually, See, never see you around at these events, so never get to see that. But okay, so Fatima Gobi is one of them. Other than that, you don't have any, say, any of these Pakistan-focused funds. But overall, what are you thinking? Like, where do you see the space where you saw shitloads of capital come in and then now not there? So what are your general impressions?
My general impression is that if you build the right business, then the capital will come.
Like to that specific business, if you have the means to start the right business to begin with.
I think you build the right business, capital will come. It will find you. This is a market, and it's investors, whether they're in Pakistan or abroad, it's their job to find the opportunity. And I think that if we haven't focused on optimizing for investment, and it's worked out really well. You have to focus on the right thing, which is getting to product market fit to start, and then building the right business around it to scale. And get deeper and deeper product market fit, because it's not a binary. It's not either there or not there. It's often a process. It takes time. You grow into product market fit, profitable product market fit. I don't know. I don't have any insight other than to say that focus on building the right business, and the capital will find you. And I think thinking too much about capital is counterproductive, and I think we do a little bit too much of that here. And in terms of generally like listening to what the scene you talked about, I think it's more important to listen to your customers, spend time working with your team, instead of listening to people in the scene talk about building businesses. It's just more productive to do it that way. So that's what I would encourage. Even though one of the most common questions I do get is about investment. But I wish it was more about product market fit, about scaling your company, building the right investable, scalable business.
Yeah. No, that's actually absolutely true. At the end of the day, it's literally all about whether someone wants to pay money to you to buy whatever you're selling, right?
Yeah.
And of course, it has to be viable as well.
I mean, I think there are examples around. I look up to, there are a handful of companies I look up to. Yasser in North Africa, I think originally in Algeria. What's the ecosystem there? You tell me.
Yeah.
Right?
Fairly small.
But quality, high quality company from YC as well. Breadfast, originally in Egypt, another high quality company in my view. What's the ecosystem there? So you build the right business, and I think the capital will form around you to be able to take it to the next level.
No, excellent. Thanks so much, Babar. Thanks so much for taking the time. I think this was a pretty good, I learned quite a bit, especially about the space, because earlier conversations around this have been quite, everyone has their own lived experience in this space, right? So yeah, learned quite a bit, and good luck to Tajir. Hopefully see you here again soon.
Thank you, Mubariz.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.